Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike. It's dGon here alongside Jamada and Dom to break down the world of League of Legends esports. And we've got some news to take care of. A lot of things happened outside of the game recently, outside of just some great LPL and LCK action, including an organization losing its sponsorship due to some whoopsie tweeting by a non-League of Legends team. If you missed the news, Team Liquid lost their sponsorship with Honda, which they've had for quite some time, because a R6 player posted a not great photo of
An
a
atomic
Japanese
bomb.
event. There you go,
An
an
atomic
atomic bomb
bomb.
after a match.
Yes.
Uh, kind of what? Let's go with what is this player possibly thinking, and then what are the ramifications of this?
It it might go down as one of the most expensive tweets in esports ever.
Oh, man.
Perhaps I can't think of many other like big fuck ups like this. I mean, I did recall reading. I can't remember if it was the player's manager or someone like kind of connected both to him and also the Brazilian community. That it's some kind of culture thing on their end about like blowing up, right? And it is just a, and I quote, unfortunate coincidence that obviously what happened to Japan, and that they happened to be playing against a Japanese player or team, um, and that they didn't mean it. But like, man, you, I can't. I feel like we had a similar conversation either an episode or two ago. Where it's like you have to just be socially aware of what you're tweeting and who you're tweeting at and the contents of that tweet when you are a player, when you are someone like forward facing, because anything can be misconstrued. But in this case, it's so on the nose, bro. It's so like a little bit of cognitive thinking, one history class about that period of time, and I think you're probably like caught up, you know? Um, so yeah, like I said, there hasn't been a tweet more expensive than that. Like one individual tweet, I don't think has cost an esports org probably more money ever.
Dom, on Twitter, you had a different take. It was more pragmatic of like, well,
Yep.
you know what? Team Liquid just got out, or Honda got out of a partnership that wasn't making them money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I see it is like obviously the tweet is bad, and I'm not like defending the tweet or anything. But
Sure.
what I think about is would they have exited this partnership if they actually believed that this was a lucrative partnership? Like if they thought that this was a good partnership and they were happy within the agreement. This wasn't some tweet that went like insanely viral. You know, it was deleted at like 2,000, 3,000 likes. There was a little bit of a stink there, but it was definitely something where you could distance yourself. If you were happy with the arrangement, you'd be willing to, maybe have that player kicked, talk to Team Liquid, see if there was like a way to, move on from the player and still work together in some capacity. But
Yeah.
they wanted out. Like they've been a sponsor of TL for 6 years. I assume that it was probably a 10-year deal. That's normally how these things work. It's probably a 10-year deal. They signed it 2019, 2020. Most likely right after Team Liquid was the most dominant team in North America. Viewership was at a high, especially like during COVID, it peaked. Like everything was going super well. And then, everything has been dropping off dramatically ever since then. And they were the title sponsor of the League of Legends team as well. So it's one of those situations where when I'm looking at it, I just think, yeah, it's bad what he did, but they definitely do not want to be in this partnership. They wanted out of the agreement, and this was a great thing to activate the termination clause in these contracts, which is normally like if you do anything that it can be construed as like racist on social media, you have the ability to terminate the contract for cause. And this probably qualified as that for cause, and that's what I think happened, and that's why I think they were willing to do it so quickly.
Yeah. Just needed to hit that one there just because, it's not gameplay related, but that is big news in North America where, we've talked a lot about what's happening to the league and the game, the teams there. And, if people really wanted North American League of Legends to work, what were some of the issues? And, we've hit some of those things. And this is just another step, what feels like in the wrong direction. And now Team Liquid has to figure out not only how to fund their league team, but a lot of the company, I would imagine, and that usually comes through rosters and staff, and they just signed another player or two in UG. So a lot of things to figure out here after a cultural misunderstanding, I suppose, and a not so good tweet. Any final thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, there's the tweet on the screen. I will say I think it's just like perfect storm. It's like probably Honda wanted to get out of the deal. If it wasn't like Dom said, and other people have echoed as well. Monty, I think, also said the same thing. Where it's like realistically, if that's not making the money, there's no point in staying in it. It's perfect cause. I do also think that even if it was making the money, my understanding of Japanese culture around this specific topic is that when I say sensitive, I don't mean it in like a demeaning way. It's something that they don't talk about a lot, right? For obvious good reason. So this getting made fun of. My understanding is it actually got picked up in Japanese like media, like in news media, like it made it in circulation there too. And at that point, as a Japanese company, I just basically everything I know, obviously I'm not Japanese, but basically everything I know about that society and that culture, that shit just doesn't stand. Like they can't do business anymore. So I think everything is just like perfect storm, the way that I would imagine and I understand a Japanese company would operate. Would have probably made this decision anyway, but chances are again, it wasn't making them enough money for them to like turn their nose up at it and go, you know what, we can let it slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
TL's fucked.
Yeah. Not so good there for TL as we start talking about North America, because it wasn't so good over the weekend for another marquee franchise, and we have a little bit of an insight here in this week's Sack Tap with El Dominico, coach, analyst, remote coach for Cloud9. They had their big match against FlyQuest, and it was a shellacking. Definitely game 2. Dom, 0-2 wasn't the way that you predicted, wasn't the way that a lot of people predicted, and I think now solidifies who the best in North America is right now after a best of 3 series and not including scrims. What happened? What happened?
I mean, I think that we just took a really bad fight and like the game was snowballed game 1, and then game 2 it just felt like we were like tilted, honestly. Like when I was watching like how, you know, we played, we lose the Ari ult mid, we should be playing for Drake, but then we play for Drake anyway without Ari ult. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where like throughout the week you like develop habits, and I think we were like a team that was snowballing through Drake. We were taking a lot of fights, and it felt like in this situation we're like so willing to take fights that might not be like cited for us, but because of certain conditions we'll tunnel on like, oh well, we can fight this because, you know, enemy has no flash on Annie. So even though Annie has no flash, you know, even though we shouldn't be fighting, Annie has no flash, we can maybe win. Instead of just like making more consistent plays around the map. And, you know, in these games, like FlyQuest is just drafting for early game. They're drafting to just shit on us early. And we get out of the hardest part of the game, which is the lane phase. We're up like 1k gold. And then the difference between this game and the other games we played against them was in the other games, we were just trading, right? Like the game that we played earlier, the split, you know, they're up, or we're up like maybe like 1k gold. We're not fighting, and then we take one fight at 20 minutes and we just like win the game off of it. And like with these types of comps, if you just let the Annie Nefiri team get a lead, like you're just fucked. Like the Annie Nefiri will just run you over. They can just ult you at every single fight, and then you'll just die. So it's one of those things where like, even though it feels really bad, like I don't think it's like the end of the world really, because when I look at the situation, it's like what we chose to fight this. Like we made the decision to fight this. It's not like they were stepping on our necks in lane and like we couldn't breathe and then we had to take a fight because we were super far behind. Like we just chose to lose the game. Like at these places, we're like, all right, we're gonna lose the game at Drake number 1 in game number 2. We're gonna lose the game at fucking Drake number 2 in the first game. And that's stuff that we can obviously, you know, work on. We can just be more disciplined with the fights we're taking. Also, I think we got like a little bit of an ego because, you know, obviously when you play FlyQuest, that means that you're not going to be playing against FlyQuest in scrims. So, you know, the teams you're playing against are going to be lower quality and all that stuff. And you're going to get into the habit of like, yeah, we can fight everything. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if we get behind, we'll still win. No, not versus FlyQuest. Like, that shit doesn't fly. Like, you have to be disciplined and you have to play the game properly against a team like that. And yeah, we just didn't. And we got our asses beat. So I think Vulcan said it best. He was like, we look like absolute retards out there. Like, it was what it was, you know, like Like it happens. But I mean, I don't think like the team is doomed or anything. Like I would feel much worse if we were like getting our team completely fisted in like lane phase, and then we couldn't breathe from there, and then like we just are just not able to actually compete. It's like we took fights that were bad. We also could have done like better drafting. I think our 4-5s were not good. We banned like Karma in one of the games where Karma wouldn't have been good for them. We didn't ban Silas when we picked Ari, which is like super obvious. So some of our drafting wasn't good, but for the most part, it's like, yeah, I mean, you just lose the game early and it's going to be rough afterwards. So I think that it's definitely, I mean, like so far this year against FlyQuest, we're 3-3. We lost these 2 games. We won earlier in the season. We won last time we played them before that. So I'm not like super disturbed by it. It's mainly just we have to be extremely disciplined when we play them, because FlyQuest is a team that like they won't take a lot of big risks to beat you. But if you let them like get a lead, if you let them, play from ahead, you're gonna get fucked. Like they're really good at playing that style. So it's just something that we have to make sure that next time we play against them, which will be in playoffs, like we are not giving them these types of advantages.
Yeah. That was as close to a perfect game that I think we've seen in a while. We had a couple in the LCK that were close, but same kind of thing, saved by a grub or saved by a turret plate. But that was not the Cloud9 that we're used to seeing. What did you see in this series here, Jamada?
I mean, for me, I was less disappointed with C9 and actually a little bit more impressed with FlyQuest. Like Dom summarized a majority of my thoughts. I feel like the drafts weren't. I wasn't like in a position where I thought, yeah, C9's drafts were awful. I just feel like Fly's responses to more or less kind of neuter any real chance of contesting early game objectives, things like that, just made a lot of sense into a team like C9 who've relied on Blabber a lot to really kind of make things happen in the early game. And I think those core kind of decisions, I think it was the second Drake in game 1, was the big one where to me, I feel like FlyQuest were just ahead enough where it's like, we should probably just cross map and save ourselves the
And
trouble
FlyQuest
of
wasn't
maybe
ahead.
flipping the game.
We were actually ahead at that point. We were up 1K gold, so we should be like even more happy to like
Okay.
not play it.
Yeah, like there you go, right? Like I think it swings both ways. It's really about a mentality thing. It's like you're ahead, you can give up a useless dragon and just go and get more gold, or you can try and flex what is a really minimal lead, right? But yeah, I think just Fly ended up playing that fight better, and just throughout the series, yeah, FlyQuest just had their P's and Q's more together than C9, unfortunately, and well, unfortunately for C9, I'm not like worried or anything for C9. Though I will say, because we probably won't get to talk about them much, looking at TL with Yuji and obviously, not the strongest opponent in the world, I do wonder if I wonder how much TL might be back in relation to the top 3 clump, because I'm disregarding 100 Thieves for the time being. They're in 4th place jail. But yeah, I'm not worried about C9 and this performance. I think again, it was more well prepped by FlyQuest throughout a lot of this series, and I think a lot of the decisions throughout both those games, C9 had clear opportunities to, not really engage with FlyQuest inside of the game to play more for gold throughout multiple sequences, and they kind of just didn't. And Fly won those kind of handshakes throughout the series.
Yeah. Tough loss there for Cloud9. Again, not out of playoffs. It was the positioning phase. They'll be the number 2 seed moving forward in the LTA North playoffs. Was there anything else in those playoffs for LTA that surprised you, jumped out at you, Dom and Jamada? Dom, you go first.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know what people think is like. I don't think people know what the format is. Number one, because like the Shopify TL game, like part of the reason they're trying Yuji there is like the game actually does not matter.
Yeah,
like,
it
I don't know
doesn't
if people
matter.
realize that it means literally 0, because 3rd and 4th is up to who FlyQuest wants to choose. Like if TL lost, FlyQuest could still just choose to play them over Shopify. Like there's the first seed gets to choose their opponent in the first round. So I don't think people really knew what was happening. Like it seems like the format really missed the mark because no one knows what's actually going on. Like people don't know what is going on between like us. Like I'm just basing it off like what my chat is saying. Like people don't know if like this is playoffs or like, what we're playing for, or they didn't know the implications of the other series. Like, I don't know. It just feels like it's a really big miss when it comes to formatting, because no one knows what's happening apparently.
Yes, and if we're going down the format route, I think this is mostly like head of esports saying, "Hey, you got to make this 3-split format kind of thing work." Remember, this is the compromise that Mark Z and the rest of the LTA council, Shadow Council, like decided on, so that you could get best of 5s for playoffs and still have double elimination. So, what would you have rather have seen with the like constrictions there, because or restrictions there? Because I feel like the restrictions are what make it difficult to put together like the perfect format.
I
Because
mean,
I
something to
just
play for. Like I don't know. I just like want there to be like some like stakes on the game. Really, like games
yeah,
that are not completely useless. I think would be good. So I just normally dislike any format. I mean, to be honest, I don't like most of the formats. This split. Like I think the LCK format is fucking trash. Like I think this is like crazy. Like I just looked into it recently. I didn't know that there wasn't a final in the
yep,
LCK. There's just no final. Like how are you
yeah.
gonna have a format where you don't get like there's no double elimination, by the way. It's just like Hanwha Life and GenG will play one qualifier. The winner of that gets the 1 seed, and then there'll be a gauntlet run, and essentially the other 5 teams are playing for 1 slot to MSI. Like when I just look at these formats, it's just like I just feel like there's no stakes on the games. It's just like it's kind of weird to have the situation, or the stakes are not what they should be. Like it's so weird to me as well because I feel like LCK playoffs has been such a banger anyway. Like I feel like people have really enjoyed LCK playoffs, and then to have it so you're not actually going to like have a real playoff format after so many good ones in a row just seems weird to me. Like, and
Yeah.
like LTA, it's like the same thing. It just feels like rushed or like they don't know what they're doing, which just leaves like a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, the LTA one, we know that was made obviously in the middle of the season. I think with
Mhm.
LCK, I think they tried to fit too much into it with going to 3 splits and making it one long season rather than 2 splits. They wanted to value the first split as both a qualification for the Legend and Rise group as well as an easier path to MSI, and then not have it quite conclude because the records carry over, which I don't agree with. Like, I'm not a big fan of like, okay, round 1 and
Yeah, I
2.
hate that. I
Remember
mean,
the long
we tried
LCS
that
season? It
in
was like
LCA.
that.
Yeah, I hated it. I hated it.
Yeah.
I thought it was garbage. Like, so why are we like not learning from this and just like going back to that? I don't know. I feel like most fans like they don't want to like go like you don't want to have a break. Like, let's say you're an LCK fan, right? You watch
Yeah.
MSI. You don't want to have like a fucking long ass break where you're not watching LCK and then come back and then be like, oh, by the way, like fucking like DNF is in the fucking shitter. Like they are completely doomed. Like I feel like most people don't want that shit. Like so it just seems very strange to me that this is like how people have decided to do the formats going forward.
Yeah. I do think that it's hard to put into words because it is the Korean, like the way that the Korean fan base and the Korean brands see the LCK. It's very different than global. It's all these teams have fans, so as long as all of them play a certain amount of games and get the certain amount of exposure, they're happy with it. And so this was the way to keep Gauntlet in there, to make sure that the finals was the finals, which is in summer, and this was just the qualification to MSI. It also allows us to have 3 days of a roadshow in Korea when roadshows are dying everywhere, except like the ones that are being paid for by like the teams. So all those things kind of were uh covered throughout. Anyways, I think they tried to pack too much in there, and as long as like the games were being played, the orgs and the fans were fine with it. I'm sorry, Jamada, we were diving in there a lot. You want to get in there?
No, you're good. I mean, there's not really much to add that hasn't been said because, frankly, the formats just fucking stink, right? Like that the no hype of a real bracket in LCK is just really ridiculous, and we've been bagging on the LTA North format, and I assume it's the same in in the LTA South as well, uh, since the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
And I think especially, I personally don't even really think that hey, they had to adjust it mid-year or like mid, in between splits is too much an excuse to be honest, unless I'm missing something, you know, from a logistics standpoint. Because why not just run a best of 3? Like we've had 7 weeks of play so far. why don't we just run a best of 3, even if it's a 1-round robin, if that's all you can fit in that like week? Figure it out. Like, figure out something that just feels a bit more competitive, you know? Because yeah, especially at the point that we're at, best of ones just they feel like shit, right? From the
I mean,
community standpoint.
they don't do what Riot said they were supposed to do. Like the whole idea was
Yeah.
like that they're supposed to drive storylines. That was the whole idea from Riot, is that by having best of ones, it's really good because it like creates narratives, it creates storylines. No one gives a fuck about the best of one storylines, by the way. Like, no, there was people even like, I don't even know if people even remember that we like shat on FlyQuest the first time we played them. It wasn't like, oh shit, they're playing again, and like FlyQuest last time got fucking destroyed. Like, none of that actually like was a storyline. It was just kind of like, oh shit, like they're playing their first real series of the split. That's how most people considered it. Even though this is the one that's supposed to not matter in theory. You know, it's like supposed to be, oh, there's two teams that are at the top. They're probably going to end up meeting each other in the next round, in finals, whatever. We're probably going to get to see these teams in best of fives. They're playing on a similar patch. So who actually knows what the fuck is going on when it comes to, you know, how much they're going to reveal. Like, no, this wasn't even something that was discussed. It was just like, oh, now we actually get to see them play because this is the first best of 3 that C9 and FlyQuest got to play. Like, no one actually sees the format the same way that Riot sees the format.
Yeah, I agree with that. Part of it is familiarity with how things were always done for a long time, and now we're making a shift. And as long as I think as long as they continue to refine the format and stick to it, people will forget like later on, like, oh, it used to be 2 splits. Like again, if the league is going on
Well,
for like 5 more years,
they
or
need to
something
be
like that.
quick. They need to be quick and not like continue with the half measures, bro. Like, we are not in a position right now, esports wise, where you can be doing bullshit where it's kind of like this, where, realistically, this first part for the LTA has been so, like, the first 3 weeks was so like whatever. You could have tapped in a week 4 and more or less just been starting from a fresh slate. Realistically,
Yeah.
those first 3 weeks didn't do anything. It felt like basically like filler. It felt like
I
filler in
mean,
a
it was
show.
also super cringe
It,
to like prep for like best of
it,
ones and multiple different teams. Like, you're going to be playing a fearless format and you spend all your time. Well, I mean, we didn't spend all of our time because, like, I mean, the better teams that are most likely going to go
Mhm.
towards the top would started scrimming like sometimes, best of ones, and the second block would be a best of 3 fearless. So they would do like a break there. But for a lot of teams that were like fighting for their lives, they're just practicing best of 1 fearless for like 3 weeks, and then they're playing best of 3 fearless for the next like 3 to 4 weeks. It just feels very
yeah.
strange. um when this would, like, theoretically, this is the last time you're playing best of ones for the rest of the year, right? For most people, this is the
Mhm.
last time you're playing best of ones for the rest of the year. um so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm just a Riot Games format hater in general. Like, I
Yeah,
just
I
really
think
dislike most of the formats.
the final part for me is just because they've gone so hard on like pushing fearless as like the sentiment was so positive in winter that they had to keep it for the whole year. From like again, unless there is some big logistical gap here that I'm missing from the LTA North side, why did we not just slam best of somehow? Like, bro, I genuinely don't care. Even if it was fucking best of 2s, I know like North America
Ugh.
probably hates the idea of draws. I know, I get it. Like, as a European, I don't care. Like, draws are draws. I'm a big football guy, so it is what it is when it comes to draws there. But even if it was best of 2, so you could fit a guaranteed 3 series a day in, right? Because then you're still capped at 6 games a day. Or not best of 2. Well, yeah, best of 2s, right? So win. It's still, you're still getting 3 series in, like, guaranteed. And logistically, obviously, it's going to be a bit annoying to get in, 6 teams. But if you're doing best of ones and everyone plays anyway, you're actually having 2 less teams uh, in per day. And then you get fit, you still get like baby fearless, right? For the game too. So just something, anything was better than best of ones. Like, actually, anything was better than best of ones. And I feel like in this time where, to me, it seems like a lot of decisions that Riot, generally speaking, are making are to pander is not quite the right word, but it is a apt word to positive sentiment when and where they can find it surrounding the esports scene. This felt like a really easy win that they just didn't decide to go full like swing in and get. So yeah, even like with the other stuff aside of it just being a shit format, not even batting for that, also just kind of it's strange to think about.
Yeah. Well, that was a little bit about LTA and formats and whatnot, but we are sack tapping, and
Yeah, this
it was
technically
a
sucked up.
it was a double tap here for Dom. Not only did Cloud9 almost get perfect game in game 2, he also got Judased in the NLC with Ruddy sack. Yankos came back with Nord, and they defeat the Ruddy sack 3-1 to book their ticket to EMEA Masters and be the number 1 seed moving to NLC Finals LAN. That does mean it sets up for a potential elimination date with Los Ratones if Los Ratones can make it out through the lower bracket.
They should.
Dom, I watched some of it there with you on your stream at the end. You were watching with Don Jake.
Yep.
What were your thoughts there?
I don't know. I was really surprised we lost that game number 4 because I felt like that one was like free win, and it just shows that I guess like I don't know. I like my feelings watching the game. I thought Jamada was like smurfing. I thought our drafts were like so fucking good in pretty much every single game. Like I thought he just got the players really good stuff, and we just weren't able to win it. I don't know. It was tough, but you know, I mean, we are like, I mean, theoretically, like we are the team that should have a problem against Nord. I mean, Nord is a team that's made up of a bunch of fucking players that have played in LEC before. Like everyone's been in LEC on that team. And they're actually practicing. They're different than our LEC team that we had with Ruddy in the first split, where we just didn't practice at all. You know, where it's like it shouldn't be a surprise there that we were like complete dog shit. But yeah, I mean, they're actually playing. They're trying their best, and they're doing pretty well. So I thought we would do better, but at the same time, I think it's like an understandable loss.
You didn't sacrifice enough children to the volcano, bro.
Yep.
Like Cthulhu was not fed. I don't know what to say. Like
oh, it was depressing.
How
did we
the
lose
game
that
4
game?
Yeah, the game 4 was just it was
Pathetic.
something special. It was
pathetic.
It was pathetic, man. It was what was it at peak? It was like a 6.5, 7K gold. Like it was something big. It was something really, really large. Map state was good. No real reason to, fuck around and find out the way you did. I don't know what your guys' coaching philosophy is. I don't really tap into your guys' scrims to see the VODs and stuff. And watch the tape. But I think Yamao if he's not a belter, I hope he was after this series, because like Marlon needed some belt, right? Natty Nat needed some belt. Honestly, low key, the only not guilty one was Fu Ming, Mr. Peng in the mid lane. Like maybe not as a bit guilt free as well, but I just. You guys need a new slogan. I'm not even going to do analysis for this game, because like you just need to go and watch game 4. If you've not watched game 4, if you've got the time, go and watch game 4, and just watch from like 25 minutes. Go from like 25 minutes in, and just watch how they tried to close out that game. It was greed. It was greed on the biblical level. I like as Don Jake, like one of Don Jake's closest friends, a part of me really wanted to, like, I want to root for you guys always. But at the same time,
that's some bullshit.
No, I do. No, bro. Listen. No. Like, bro, no.
This guy is literally in chat flaming Don Jake throughout the entire time. He wants us to lose more than anyone else.
Because I know it tilts Jake, but that guy is my brother from another mother, right? So him doing well, it does make me happy.
Yeah.
But the crash out from
I will say Don Jake's crash out was pretty fucking.
It was fucking incredible.
I'm out of words. I have no words.
Yeah.
I'm like, Don Jake out of words is like bullshit. That's bullshit.
Yeah, this guy just talks so much.
Like his ability to find words in every situation was robbed, and that just should tell you everything you need to know about game 4. You guys need a new slogan. I think just Ruddy making the impossible possible.
Ruddy up, Ruddy downs. That's what we're gonna say.
No.
After that. That's our slogan now.
Yeah. That sounds good. I like that.
All right. Well, great insight as coach. I will dominate. Owner, I will dominate, and then we'll get to analysis in just a little bit. That was this week's Sack Tap. We will continue following along with Cloud9's run through the upper side of the bracket in LTA North. And now it's do or die time at the LAN for the Ruddy Sack. We'll check in with that next week. Well, when is the game? It's actually not next week. It's in 2 weeks.
Not.
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's in 2 weeks. It will be
Okay.
on the 31st. I want to say 31st and 1st, respectively.
Well, Jamada's boy Fu Ming has some time to go ahead and get into the solo queue and get everyone on his level. All right. Another piece of news. This is the last piece of news that I guess will kind of lead into Keeper Kick, but
Yeah.
God, there was like 2 things now I'm thinking about it. It was the let's do the drama one that we actually haven't talked about yet. This was the Pobelter. It was the number 1 thing on Reddit. Pobelter crashing out on in scrim review on a couple of players not showing up. I think it was Doublelift and TF Blade. I'm not 100% sure. Crash out is the wrong word. I think he just passionately expressed that he was tilted very
fucking
maturely.
Zoomers ruin everything, bro. They ruined the word crash out. Crash out is like you're like, what the fuck are they doing? They're like, stop crashing out, unk. Like, just this is what crash out has become to Zoomers. Like, anytime you're like at all excited, people just say you're crashing out. Like, Doublelift was like, or like Pobelter was like, man, Doublelift is not showing up to these reviews, man. Like, man, it's so tilting that he's not here. And they're like, whoa, calm down with the crash out. I feel like it's such a condescending way to consider like what Pobelter is doing. Like, he is frustrated that one of his teammates isn't showing up, and the context of it is like, ooh, he's crashing out. Like, the whole idea of crashing out is supposed to be that it's unreasonable, right? That it's like something happens and you just start like I get tilted on stream and I just start fucking like breaking my setup, like throwing slurs around, like I'm like you're crashing out, you're ending your career, like you're fucking going crazy, you're going ballistic based off something that shouldn't be that big. That is the idea of crashing out. And now crashing out has become like, man, this guy should probably come to our scrim reviews. Like, I don't know. I just find it like super cringe that this is how like we just murder every single word or like every single phrase in the English language.
All right. We're all aligned on that one.
Yeah.
This is kind of one of the fears potentially, or one of the downfalls of having like an open scrim kind of content team, though. And is this the first time where we've kind of seen this?
People can see when you just don't show up and when you're actually just like completely griefing your team. Unlucky, man. You can't just get away with it.
Was that the first time that we've seen that? Because I don't remember that like any posts like that for Los Ratones or you guys.
I mean, we just didn't scrim because people just didn't want to scrim. We like tried to scrim and then people were like, we're not scrimming. And it's like, okay, well, we're not fucking like paying players. So I mean, what could we do? Like, it is what it is. It's like the whole idea was that with all these teams, by the way, like no one gets paid to be in these teams, right? So like the whole idea is supposed to be that you get together, you create content, and you use your combined brand power to grow something that you wouldn't be able to do yourself. Like, that is supposed to be the idea. But it's weird that people like sign up for this and then they start trying to go along with it. They don't like the idea of doing that, and then they just kind of like give up. It's just like, it's weird because I feel like this is all discussed before you go into the team, and it's especially weird because the context of this is that Doublelift was the person that convinced Pobelter to join the team, and then he just is kind of half-assing it. He's going to a rave over doing things the team agreed upon, and yeah, I mean, it's just a miscommunication. And we dealt with the same thing, and what our response was on the Ruddy Sack was like, fuck it, bro, I don't care if we have like legendary players, like let's just get a group of players that wants to be here and wants to win, and everything else will take care of itself. Like, the most important thing is that the content is supposed to be your team getting better, that your team is growing together, they get to see the inner workings of the team, how they deal with adversity, how they like develop and become like whatever the result ends up being. And like, whether the storyline is that you go on and you win, or you just like you go for something and wherever you land up, like the whole content is supposed to be the process. but it seems like people are on different pages with that. And yeah, I mean, what you see there is like the result of, you know, when people are on different pages and have different expectations, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Jamada, what are your thoughts on that, especially given the fact that this is tier 3, elevated tier 3 League of Legends, kind of tier 2, but mostly tier. No,
Tier
it's tier
two.
2. It is tier 2. It's tier 2.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was OQ. I thought it was OQ. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I didn't even really tap into this news. I thought it was kind of nonsense, but also very on brand for Doublelift. When I heard like the phrase "Yo, Pobelter's crashing out," I thought to myself, "Pobelter crashing out? That guy's too relaxed to. I can't imagine Pobelter getting like tilted to the point where he's like."
Bro, if that's crashing out, I do that. I do more than that every single time I turn on my stream and go live.
You turn on
like,
the camera, yeah, exactly. That's so. Even like just as you guys are talking, I was just very gently watching over the clip, and it's like, bro, he's just having a discussion about how like it's basically just disrespectful. Like in the context of this team, Doublelift is the one that put it together, right? He was like the main driving factor, catalyst to get this team together. If you're gonna do that, you would expect that guy to be the one that is showing up the most.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if we've literally seen a perfect case study of this through Ruddy in Winter Split. If people aren't on the same page, if communication isn't good about what your goals are, if you've made an agreement about how you're going to practice and when you're going to practice, and then not only do you not honor it, you don't communicate how you're not going to honor it, seemingly, or you do it like late or just in a very untasteful way, then you're going to get people in that environment that are going to be pissed off. So yeah, I don't know. Again, this just seems very on brand for Doublelift as the player I know him to be at times in situations like these. And at the end of the day, man, the strobe lights and MDNA was calling. I guess that's the only thing in it. Like he had to go to that rave. He had to go. Like what else is there to say? Like practice be damned, innit? Who cares about the tier 2 tournament? It doesn't mean anything, obviously.
Yeah. Just an interesting like little slice, and it was just a clip. We don't know everything behind there, but
No.
it's I just hated the fact that they used the word crash out when Pobelter is explaining very fair, very normal frustration over shit and explain the sacrifice that he was going through. And it's just a overall great dude. Doublelift, great interview. I very much enjoy interviews with him, but that wasn't a great look. And then just when you look at that team with Croissant, who's been around for such a long time as an analyst in the space, and Tonington, the manager, like that felt like conversations I've been a part of before. And this time it was pretty clear, hey, this ain't working and something needs to change. So all right. One more piece of news, but before we get there, let's give you a heads up about one of our friends. It's AG1. Now, you've heard us talk about AG1 multiple different times on how it helps us set up our healthy routine, but it's also just part of our daily lives. You know, I'll take my AG1 with my creatine in the morning before I go work out. It's helped me with my gut health and got me going regularly. You've heard Dom say before that it is what he likes to have. Tastes delicious with like the pineapple type taste, and is overall just pretty good. Dom, how do you go about having AG1 in your life?
I mean, for me, it's just I've been on the format for a while. I do cold water, do a stir, put it in, and now I'm adding a little bit of like creatine because I was taking like the gummy form, and apparently that's just bullshit. So I was just like not even getting anything that I was supposed to get. So yeah, now I add that to it, blend it up into one drink, just one shot it. I put it in a cup. I just one shot it and go about my daily life. But it has actually made like noticeable differences. Like I think for me, I'm a type of person where I don't really know when something is like a problem. Like I didn't even consider that my digestion was not the best. You know, I'm like, oh, it's fine. But then like I actually made like I noticed that I just feel better with AG1. Like I do actually have just like my stomach just hurts less. I just feel, better throughout the day. So it has made a noticeable difference. So I'm happy that I've been put on game.
Yeah, and we've been partners with them for a little while, and it's pretty great to introduce now that they have created AG1 Next Gen. It's a representation of years of development and 4 clinical trials, which has been pretty awesome. It is clinically backed formula that fills common nutrition gaps that supports gut health, all in the same easy once a day ritual. And so, if you are interested in making sure that your health is on track, subscribe to try the next gen of AG1. Use our link and also get a free bottle of AGD3K2 and an AG1 welcome kit. And 5 of the upgraded AG1 travel packs with your first order. So make sure to check that out at drinkag1.com/elephantlegends to get started with AG1's next gen and notice the benefits for yourself. That's drinkag1.com/elephantlegends. Thanks to our friends over at AG1. Excited for the next chapter with AG1 next gen. All right, last piece of news before we get into Keeper Kick. There's going to be a new team in the LEC, Jamada. Not exactly sure what the price tag is yet, but it is rumored, not even rumored, being reported on that Rogue are selling their slot to NAVI, now finally out in the open. Whispers were around, rumor mill was around, but now it seems pretty destined to happen.
I used to pray for times like these. I used to pray for times like these. Yeah, the rumors obviously been flying around for a little while now that Rogue were going to give up their slot to Navi, sell that over. It's now being reported as more or less a done deal, and Navi should theoretically be here in summer. And I remember we tackled this initial reporting. I want to say it was back in March, right? And I think one of the big talking points about it then was, would they keep staff? And I'm hearing rumblings that those motherfuckers are jobless. And
Hell
you know
yeah.
what?
Deserved.
I'm there for that. I'm there for that. I know in esports it's a bit of a taboo to call for heads to roll, right? Especially when you work in the industry. But man, philosophically, Rogue were the same. And the only thing that, like, over the years, post that the championship in 22, for 2.5 years, they were the same. 3 constants: GM, coach, Larson. One of the 3 had to go. I think personally, in the order I just said it, maybe Freddy first. It depends on who you hate more. It's really up to you. But for the time being, if Navi are actually going to be here in summer, awesome. I'm really, really curious about what they're going to do for roster. And obviously, staff is kind of secondary to a lot of people, but I would be very interested to see what kind of support staff and who they end up having as a head coach come summer, because again it's mid-year. Like I off the top of my head, outside of like a team completely collapsing, this has maybe only ever happened like one other time, I think, and I can't even recall what team it was. My brain is telling me it was Giants, but I can't recall. So this is A, potentially unprecedented, but B, also probably very healthy for the league, because Rogue have been coasting basically 10th, 9th for 2 years with no tangible changes that seem to make them want to be a competitive team. So I'm here for this. I was here for this when it got initially reported back in March that it was potentially going to happen at the end of the year, and I'm even more here for it now that seemingly it's coming in summer, and it's going to be a revamp. I imagine it's not going to be the strongest roster in the world, right? You're just potentially roster building mid-year, but you've got until halfway through July, almost. Like, there is a big gap right now, considering they're already gone. They're not in playoffs until summer kicks off. So they've got time to really, think things out, put together a roster, and hell, even get scrim time. Like, unironically, they will probably have a solid shot at getting a decent amount of scrim time potentially, depending on how things actually get handled. So Navi might come in and not even be like a guaranteed like shit team, at least for summer. Like, they might unironically challenge for like top 6, depending on what kind of roster and stuff they get to. I'll say that very apprehensively,
I was gonna say, who do they get?
Like that's obviously the big problem mid-year. It's very hard, but hell, even if like looking better than Rogue is a low fucking bar. And I think just with the changes that are already basically slated as likely being in stone, that's a bar that they're gonna fucking like high jump over. So I'm excited. I think it's healthy for the league. NAVI are obviously a very, very big and recognizable brand that should bring fans to the league just by existing. I don't know how much, and obviously the fan to like org fan culture is very unique and kind of changing these days. Very rare that you have orgs with massive followings. A lot of the time now, it's a lot more about its player focus.
Yeah.
But generally, I see this as an absolute win for all parties involved. Rogue don't have to get their name slandered. Navi, get to dip their toe in League of Legends, which they haven't done basically
In a while.
since fuck knows when. Yeah, it's been
They were
it's been a
back in
good
the
little while.
LCL in the
Yeah,
CIS region.
yeah, exactly. So it's been a little bit, and the LEC gets a real prestigious org attached to the brand. Everyone seems to win here to me.
Yeah. Very cool that I don't know. I mean, I thought I would think of like Fnatic and Team Liquid as a couple of teams that were also big in Dota at the time that
Mm.
had a Dota team as well. But like Navi, like when you think Navi, I think maybe like the current generation, the generation before might think of like Counter Strike, but original Navi was Dendi back in Dota, and like the fact that they're now in league and have the opportunity to build upon it over in the LEC, pretty cool. And like you said, not Rogue. Any any thoughts on this move here, Dom?
No, I mean, I think that anything that's not Rogue is good. I think Rogue is just such a trash organization. Like they fumbled everything so hard. I mean, if you just followed the trajectory of Rogue, it's like they got pretty much like lucky that their academy team was really good. They move in players from their academy team, and then every roster decision that they made after the championship just felt like it got worse and worse. It was like they brought in Shigenda, then they kept Larson forever. Then they just like got rid of Trimby when he was like one of the best players on the team. And it just felt
Nothing
like
made
they just got
sense.
worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and it just became like so pathetic to watch them play because it just felt like lifeless. And I feel like that's what most people really hated about them, is that they just didn't feel like they actually cared or wanted to be there. So you just end up in the situation where you're like, why should I give a fuck about you if you don't even give a fuck about yourself? It's just really depressing to watch them. And yeah, I mean, they have like zero fans. They like literally killed their entire fan base. When you see them tweet, they get zero fucking likes. Like no one actually cares about them at all. And
Yeah,
I mean, I guess that's not
I
super
will.
unique for esports, but
I will say on the fan part, it didn't help obviously that they temporarily merged with Koi, and I think that probably killed off a lot of the momentum that they could have had. Right,
Yeah.
it's the 2023 year,
Yep.
and I mean, yeah, like I feel like their fans probably got stolen if anything. Like the few fans that they were building up, got yoinked. But yeah, again, everything. It's just good they're gone, man. It's good they're gone. Everything, nothing made sense. And yeah, I think things will probably look a little bit better with Navi here.
Well, we'll see what they have in store. They could do a CLG/NRG run that happened in 2023 over at the LCS for they take the slot, did NRG, and then they ran the bracket into the beginning of NA being better than EU into that
yep.
group stage or Swiss stage G2 victory, all that good stuff. Anyways, best of luck to Navi, and good luck to figuring out the career part of it for all parties involved. I know how stressful it is in
Yeah,
esports with the volatility of it. You want to, as much as on the competitive side, you're doing bad, you want it to be a meritocracy. Still on the opposite side, losing your job always sucks, especially when there's so much uncertainty and need to perform for it. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of need to perform, it's time for Keep or Kick. And we're staying in Europe. And it's KC versus the world. Who you got here in this episode of Keep or Kick? Is it KC or anyone else in the LEC? Let's get into it. So LEC was off They only had that little qualifier there that I think it was Heretics that were able to take the victory. So
Yep.
now we've got playoff time for the LEC. It kicks off this weekend, Sunday, Monday. It is Fnatic versus G2, and then KC versus Koi. Sorry, Saturday, Sunday. It's Sunday, Monday for my time. Let me just go ahead and say that because people would be
Korea
like,
time.
"Hey,
Yep.
dGon, man." KC have been great, and they had the big matchup at the end of the season, and they passed with flying colors. Do you see them as the cream of the crop, or do you see a magical G2 run out of nowhere, or maybe the magic's actually with Mickey X? And he's gonna drag Fnatic out of there. Maybe Jojo Pune finally gets his shit together and is able to get all the Spanish boys on the same page. What do you think is gonna happen here? Is there a way that any other team can catch KC here in the playoffs? Jamada?
Do we have to pick anyone actually? Because I'm not super convinced about anyone.
It's
I
KC
mean,
versus the field, man.
man, like if it's just KC versus the field, like the easy side is KC, but even like when it comes to them, some of their series wins haven't always been convincing, right? There are still a lot of sequences and moments in a lot of their games where they are just making questionable decisions as a unit. Like it's not like individuals. You could definitely point towards individuals, and macro everything like is just not as succinct as it was starting to look in winter. I also feel like Kana is not playing individually as well as he was for the time being in winter, which is I think hampering a lot of KC strength because I feel like you know outside of that, it's like, will Kalist speak a bit of Mandarin for like 2 minutes? Like, it's true though. It's true. Like, you think about the Ezreal play. Like, what kind of psychopath in Europe is doing that except for him? On the mid wave, the 2v on, and the flash and the E
Yep.
forward. No one else is squeezing down. No one's squeezing damage like him. So if Kalist isn't in like tip top towing the line form, and Kana's not like being Kana, this team does feel a little bit flat sometimes. That said, if they're flat, then the rest of the teams don't really have a tire around the rim because like with G2, I think a lot of the discourse right now is surrounding draft and champion pools, right? Especially I think to me around BB is like the main driving force of this discourse, where a lot of their usage of, let's say, R5 as an example in the KC series is just really weird, right? Like the game 2 was the game 2 ever a Shen angle? I don't think so. I'm a very big Shen guy. I love that champ. I think he's broken as hell. That wasn't a Shen game, and it didn't fundamentally change the game either for G2 in a meaningful way. And even that solo kill that he ended up getting was again an error on Kana's part. Like Kana shouldn't be getting solo killed in that matchup. As difficult as it is to actually lane into Shen with the buff state that he's in. So G2, there's that. And I think with Fnatic, I don't really know what to say about Fnatic because Oscar's not playing well. Razork is not playing well. No one on this team feels like they're in a shape that feels acceptable to be contesting top 2 at the minute. Except for maybe Upset. Upset's the only guy that's actually remained consistent. Which to some people, depending on where you've lied on the spectrum with Upset over the years, of course, the KC the Vitality summer split of 23 and then the KC run, I think, did a lot of damage to Upset's PR. And I think rightfully so, because when you're in those situations, I think it's difficult to look good. And I think he did try his best.
Yeah.
But Upset and Mickey are the only 2 guys there. And I love Mickey, but Mickey still flips burgers from time to time. He still makes plays like he he did on G2, where you would prefer if maybe he just took a breath and went, you know what, I don't need to make this play. Like this humanoid's not here yet. Razork is like a screen and a half away and not half a screen away, right? So yeah, like I said, if I could pick no one, I'd pick no one. But this is a kick or keep. So I think on virtue of that, I have to take KC because I don't feel like the rest of the top of the table is in shape enough to reasonably beat them more times than they don't, which is it's good for the viewership. Well, not necessarily the like from an audience perspective, like the league is really competitive at the top. Like you're gonna get close games all the time. But I think the result should always go KC's way right now because even if they're not playing at their ceiling like we saw in winter, I still feel like their floor seemingly is just better than the rest of the league right now, and other teams still need to do some catching up.
All right, we've got a KC taker. Are you a KC taker here, Dom?
Nope, I'm a field taker. Like the way I see it is like KC versus the field. Like anyone that's not KC winning. Like I kind of because obviously I like do sports betting. I think about it like in betting odds, right? Where it's do I think that if KC was like around 2, and I could take the field, or like if I could take KC at 2 odds, or if I could take the field at 2 odds, I would take the field because I think that it's more likely that like one of Fnatic or G2 or Koi gets it together and is able to win than it is for KC to just like beat every team. Like I don't think it's that easy to win a championship, and I also just don't know if I like trust them that much. I mean, they had one great run, but there's nothing that I'm seeing right now that makes me feel like they are just unbeatable or like they are, by far, the best team. I think even just like G2 has obviously been playing bad, but if G2 starts playing well, I don't think that KC's playing at a level where they're just still going to beat them. So, Fnatic versus KC, I think that that's definitely one that could go Fnatic's way. I think people have like kind of lost on Fnatic, and I wouldn't predict Fnatic to win, but I would take them if I'm getting them as part of like the field. Like I get chance of Fnatic winning, G2 winning, Koi winning. No one else can win, obviously, but like I get those 3 teams or KC, I'm going to take those 3 teams. But I do think KC has the highest percentage chance of winning. I just would rather take the field because I just think the odds are on the side of the field.
Yeah, I do too, but it's just this is the team that broke the iron grip of G2. The mystique of winning everything, they'll fucking figure it out. And I don't think it's just Yike. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, look, Yike's still on the winning streak of championships, and now G2 is not. It's the mixture of Vladi coming in, being great, as you said earlier, Kana being in form at the right time, Jamada. But I think I'm just worried. I'm worried that these teams that we know can be great will not get it together, in case he's proven over a long enough period of time and international play that they are now the bar that you have to clear. And it's just the first time in a very, very, very long time we had someone else that wasn't G2 doing this. So
yeah, I think you're very correct on the G2 part, especially like when there's been the occasional like regular season where they don't finish first, right?
Yep.
Like a good example to me is actually last year winter, because I was on the broadcast, so I remember the discourse very, very vividly of how we were kind of concerned that like, hey, they don't look like themselves. Like they're making mistakes they wouldn't usually make. They're overreaching on plays where otherwise they'd be very disciplined. And then playoffs rolled around, and it was like the biggest switch flick you've ever seen. Like they were just on, and it was scary as shit. And they dumpstered basically everyone in the upper bracket. Like,
Yep.
it was ridiculous. And all of a sudden, we just kind of had to eat our words. Like I think they dropped one game in the entire run, and it was to Fnatic in the finals. And otherwise, it was just 2-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, or maybe they dropped a game to BDS. I want to say it was the third place team. But either way, point being, they just fucking ran the entire league, and you never can shake that feeling with G2 simply because they've done it so many times. Whether they've come first in the regular season or not. I think the comedy of it now, of course, is they don't play KC in the first round. They play Fnatic, right? And I do wonder if this is going to be a situation, especially because their drafts specifically, like player side, their drafts specifically have been such a ridiculous talking point, to the point where not even just talking about, like, it's a detriment to the point where it's losing them games. Like they are in game states where they can't play the game because their drafts are just shit, and their jungle priors have been weird, right? Like I love Scumon. That boy's not 9 at. Like keep him keep him off the Mundo, man. Like I love Mundo as much as the next guy too. Keep him gone. Like to me, Screwmond is the Xin, Pantheon, and maybe Wukong guy. Like he is good at making shit happen in the early game and skirmishing around winning lanes, and it doesn't feel like G2 have really enabled that as much as they initially were at the start of the year. So I'm not sure if it's specifically, well, I'm sure it's draft, but I don't know if it's like identity tied in and whether or not they can't figure that shit out or what else it could be. But playoffs is always the time where they switch on. So if they come into this fucking Fnatic series and all of a sudden their draft prior was completely different and they just shut down Fnatic, I can't do anything but just shrug my shoulders and go, well, it's G2. Like, that is the unfortunate and also fortunate thing about them is sometimes they kind of just supersede analysis. And I'm hoping that this will be another case of that. And that, you know, that winter finals against KC getting 3-0'd was just a, like, hey, we showed up and we just weren't feeling it that day. And KC were. Because I think it would be sad. It would just be sad to not see G2 doing well. It always feels like a bit of a sign of the league whenever they take a small tumble, and they've taken very, very few over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yep. Any final thoughts here, Dom?
No, I mean, I just think that in general, like KC looks good. We'll see how they actually play in playoffs because right now their style is like they're trying to incorporate more of like the, you know, aggressive mid laner picks as opposed to just playing scaling every single game, which is what they did for a while. So I want to see if that's like legit. Do they actually perceive themselves as being good enough at that to, you know, play it throughout the playoffs, or are they going to revert to like their style of playing super control and tank junglers and stuff like that? And if they do only one trick the style that they did in winter, I think that other teams can win. But if they are actually skilled enough to pull out these drafts, I think it will really matter, especially in like best of 5 fearless. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot easier for them, or a lot easier for them to just get through like some of the middle games in the series, because I think at some point, because they've actually won a split now, people are going to take them more serious. They're going to be more willing to like ban out like a bunch of their mages. Like we'll probably see Maokai bans. We'll probably see, you know, way less play when it comes to the fucking like you know, like, oh, we're just gonna give them other shit. Yeah, we'll probably ban Vi. We'll probably see teams actually attack what they're good at, which is like Sejuani, Maokai, Ivern, and these types of picks. So I just want to see if that actually happens and what other teams' perceptions of them are, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Let us know in the comments who you got. Is it the current kings or any new kings that will be coming in this spring split of the LEC? Let us know in the comments below while you're there. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I know that you guys complained about your feed being all messed up. Just subscribe. Help the homies out. Speaking of that, we've got something to help you out. It's our friends over at Into the AM. They have their Memorial Day sale where items are up to 70% off site-wide until the 1st of June. This is obviously in addition to the 10% you always get by using our link intotheam.com/LFN. They've got t-shirts, they've got Henleys, they've got jackets. I wore the bomber on the LCK broadcast the other day. They have all different types of clothes, jeans, you name it, they got it. It is so cool that they've become one of our partners here on the show, and then like clothes that I like, I wear, all of us use. So make sure to check that out. intotheam.com/elephant for the additional 10% off on top of the Into the AM Memorial Day sale, where you'll get up to 70% off. Speaking of that, it's time for the Into the AM Glow Up. And guys, it's time to just pick it. Who has been your glow up through the regular season to now? And we've got some really good candidates that we could pick from. Either teams that had no expectation to hitting something. We've had teams that have had a lot of expectation and then failing and then ending up like kind of okay. So maybe we're the delta from how like doom and gloom it was to where they're at now. I'm interested in where you guys go with this one. So any team in a major region who has had the glow up from this spring split, who would that be? So go ahead, take your time, ruminate on it, think about it. Let me know when you're ready. Who's ready first? Who's got
Ready?
it? All right, Dom.
I'll go with Heretics because even though they ended up
Oh shit.
like barely qualifying for playoffs, like this team was the team that should have been dead last, right? When everyone saw the rosters, they were like, this team is fucking cooked. They have no
D-tier.
business being in this
Yep.
league with like the other teams. And they've actually like started to get better. You know, they improved. They actually play like a team. So I think that that is a glow up. Like they're not supposed to be a playoff team in LEC. Like they're not supposed to be even close to being a playoff team in LEC. And they made it. So I gotta give credit where it's due. I like the way Sheo's been playing as well. I think Sheo's been like pretty legit. He seems I don't know, he just seems like the type of player that is really like tenacious in a way. Like it feels like he could have easily, you know, probably been shit on this team or not been great, and people would have given him a pass because he was good on BDS. He probably could have stayed in the league, but it feels like he's really like dedicated himself to trying to make this team as good as possible. And I feel like a lot of the ways they play are through him. So fair play to Heretics. I think they've been good. That's definitely a glow up. They should be a 10th place team and they're a 6th place team. Like that's solid.
I love that. What do you got, Jamada?
I'm mad you took Heretics because I wanted Heretics. I will go. I'll. Obviously, they've been on a little bit more of a rougher patch lately. But I'll give my boy Aragon a shout out. Actually, you know what? No, fuck Team WE. I'll go FPX. I, I no, because I think they're both probably in the exact same category. I mean, hell, they're tied in the standings right now, right? Or I think one of them has one less win or something silly, but they've got 6 wins both. Yeah, mate, like FPX collectively have just looked really awesome. We'll ignore the last how many series have they lost in a row? Was it 4 or 3? I think it's 4, right? They've been getting 2-0'd a bit
So
lately.
they beat AL and then they got clapped by everyone. So I think it's 4 series in a row now.
So you know, we'll remove that because realistically, I don't think anyone thought that this FPX lineup was going to be doing much of anything either, right? Especially once they made it into the top 10 group, into the SN group. People were probably thinking, you know, bottom 3 would be FPX, Team WE, TT. Hell, people might even have like overshot the rating on TT because of what they did last split. And that would have just been like the bottom 3 locked in, and then it's just like a complete fist fight for the rest of the table. But no, like they made the middle of the pack pretty fucking interesting. And I've got to give my credit to specifically Jway. I think that guy is probably the best Nico in the league. I don't think anyone has carried as many games on that Broken Ass Champ as he has. And then as much as I do like to give him a lot of shit, Shadow. Honestly, Shadow has had some incredible games where he just completely 1v9s. And I think he overcooks a lot. I think in a very similar manner actually to Monkey. Though I feel like with Monkey on WE, it feels like you know what Monkey was going for. Sometimes with Shadow, it's never clear. It's not clear. But I've loved seeing this FPX lineup kind of just come together a little bit, find a small bit of identity. I think all of these players, you know, individually have had very nice kind of show. Well, not all of them. I think like Sheer, obviously JDG last year. Care has always performed kind of as that reliable isn't quite the right word, but okay enough. Like you see him in a series, as long as it's not against like, you know, fucking Knight or Scout, you know he's probably not gonna get his cheek split. And he fulfills his role. And then I think Assume individually, usually he's a bit of a line stepper, is what I like to call ADCs like him. Where he squeezes for damage. I think he would really benefit from a meta swap back to hyper carries. I think right now this meta is not particularly favorable for him and his champion pool. But he's also done a really good job. So I just think top to bottom, this lineup has been fun to watch. They've been aggressive and they're on the same page and they make plays that they want to make. And even if they're shit, it's always just nice to see a team that is willing to throw their body on a play that they're committed to as a unit. And that was a lot of, you know, peak FPX so far in the split too. And I'm excited to see what they may or may not do in playoffs, right? Obviously, again, a little bit of a rough last couple of series, but I don't think it's anything to be over worried about. And there's still not any major expectations on their heads. So it's been nice to see that glow up between winner and split too.
All of that. These are the types of picks that I was looking for. And then I'll take the one that everyone will probably get mad at me about, and I think it's GenG. I think GenG going from yes, it was like one game away from making it to Hanwha Life.
Bold take, dGon. Bold take. who's glowed up the most? The team the team that
That's
was dubbed to
considered
be
power
10th
ranked
place
one.
and made it to playoffs, right?
Yep.
The team that didn't really have expectations and have
Yep.
kind of come in and shaken a couple of the big heads in the LPL,
Yeah.
or the team that finished second place in winter and is now first place undefeated. Yeah. Like
No, it's a glow up.
that's a big glow up. I mean,
It's a great
go on,
glow up.
sell it. You know what? No,
Here's the sell.
sell
Here's
it.
the sell.
I need
Here's the sell.
I need to hear it. Yeah.
As someone who has, literally last year, and Dom, maybe you remember this. Literally last year, Jat and I got to set up the spring finals by going to go play golf.
Yep.
And we were talking about FlyQuest's
Okay.
journey and Jensen coming back on in, and how much Inspired is just so legit. And he's like, we did all that thing.
Mhm.
And now a year later, I've gotten to see GenG over and over again, front row seat. Now smash the record in the LCK and go for the global match or the game win record, consecutive game win record against T1, and happen to do it next week against Hanwha
The
and
weakest
GenG.
version of T1 we've seen in 4 years.
That's true. This is true.
And Hanwha Life, which they've played one time up until this point. Damwon fell off a cliff. Nongshim is
And I've got to
bronze,
say,
everyone knows it.
arguably that T1 series, like GenG almost had no business winning that series. If we're being real, like
Couple
bro,
of steals.
T1 just a biblical greed and a couple of steals from T1.
But I've
one of the
never
weakest top tiers of LCK we've seen when it comes to like the strength of like the top 4. Like I think the top 2 is exceptionally strong. I think Hanwha Life is honestly like trolling a bit, like, but you just give them a pass. But like when you compare that to like Damwon this year to how Damwon looked last year, they looked way more legit last year. Like KT was like kind of threatening. Like Damwon has been so bad this year. Nongshim is good, but you don't feel like they are one of the teams that deserve to be up there. It's like nice to see them, like, oh shit, you guys are still doing it. Okay, nice. Like, well played. That's how you feel about them. But you don't feel like, oh shit, like there's like a demon top 4 right now in LCK. So like it's not like, I don't know. My take is I think GenG last year was playing better than GenG this year.
No
Like,
way. No way.
Yeah.
Yes.
No way.
100%.
So you think that they're gonna win MSI easily like they did last year?
They didn't win it easily last year, but they won it.
Pretty much.
No, they won it easily. They won it pretty easily last year.
Double 3-1s into BLG, or like
But yes,
Rio BLG?
I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win. It's
Yeah.
just because you're getting to see, because the analogy I used on Monty Wolf was Hanwha are the team where they're like, teacher, what grade is an A? It's like, oh, it's a 93. Okay, we'll do a 93. Whereas GenG is striving for that 100 and doing it. And that to me is admirable to see because they're accomplishing it. Everyone tries to be the best. When we're in NA, we were like, yeah, we're going to follow what LCK does. Let's play like a Korean team or whatever. This Korean team is playing like the best Korean team in history, according to results and whatnot. Yes, it's a little bit weaker in terms of T1 and Nongshim and D+, but they're beating everyone that's served in front of them, including handling T1 in a 2-0, which then will lead us to our certified banger of the week and probably of this spring season. It's Hanwha versus GenG, which has no bearing on the results because GenG is so far away. I think if GenG defeat them, then it's they're done and they're locked in as the number 1 seed. If Hanwha beat them, then there's no chance that T1 can catch up. Something like that. There are some little stakes, but generally, like this has been perfection attained and continued, and I think that should be applauded because a lot of the time I'm so used to doing the underdog story thing, and I love that. But it's time to tip of the cap to the 20-game win streak, 14-0 here for GenG, breaking their own record from the previous year and have the opportunity to do even more. That's myself for the glow up. Duro looks great. Ruler is fitting right back on in. And even at Keen has played the second most champions in the league. Chovy has played like very little. I think he's played like 8, maybe 7 champions. So like he hasn't even opened up yet. So it's going to be great to see them in best of 5s. That's why I'm excited about them glowing up. Okay.
I would have preferred.
I mean, they're gonna only play one best of 5. So what do you mean? Like best of 5s, they play one. Like,
yeah, that's
one best
also
of 5
true.
for MSI.
Yeah,
most likely.
and then afterwards into MSI. There's just not a lot of tape on what Chovy might be cooking up. I will say,
Mhm.
okay, I'll save it for our certified banger when we dive into GenG and Life. But that is my glow up. It is GenG who shine bright as the number one team in the world and has found a way to continue to turn it even brighter. That's my pick. Let us know at home what your pick is and rate ours. And I'll probably get flamed or whatever. But hopefully there's someone out there who's
You
like, you
should.
know what? I'm tired of the underdog story too. Let's just enjoy perfection. Let's enjoy
The glow up
perfection.
from number 2 in LCK going to 5 games to number 1 in LCK. What a glow up. Wow. What an impressive underdog story. Give them
Huge
a
glow
fucking
up.
medal.
Shout outs to Nong Shim as probably the real recipient of the award. All right. That is our Into the AM glow up. Again, check out into the am.com/LFN to get yourself the 10% off their Memorial Day sale where items are up to 70% off until June 1st. Okay. Couple more pieces here, then we're done. Let's do the big one. It is our Galaxy Brain Club conversation. It is released now officially. I've known this for a little while, but officially across the socials. It's the Hall of Fame conversation. We now have our second inductee in the Hall of Legends. Sorry, the Hall of Legends, and it's Uzi. Uzi I getting placed in there alongside with Faker. There will be a ceremony for him. They're shooting the documentary already. From the clips, it sounds like it's Emily Rand, who's definitely covered a lot of LPL. They had Iris, one of the LPL hosts, do some of the narration as well. And then I think it was Reckless, in there talking about AD carry. Doublelift in there talking about AD carry and how Uzi had influenced the whole role. So let's get into it. Our Galaxy Brain Club. It is the Hall of Legends inductee, Uzi. So, couple conversations that came on out. One, what do you think of Uzi being put in the Hall of Legends? And then two, the other discourse that was happening, Dom, was what does this mean? This isn't about accolades. And then people started posting stats about the different awards and different championships that players had won. The Xiaohu comparison was one. Where do you stand on this? Do you feel like this was the right choice? And how do you feel moving forward with the Hall of Legends?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I just don't really care about the Hall of Legends because it just feels like it's just like a marketing scheme so they could sell like $500 skins, right? So it's like I don't even think that it's about celebrating the greatness of players. I don't know what the purpose of what qualifies you for being in the Hall of Legends. Like I still have no idea what qualifies you for being in the Hall of Legends because Faker is like the greatest player of all time, but normally you don't put active players in the Hall of Fame. You know, like it doesn't matter that LeBron is like the second or first best basketball player of all time. He'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame after his career is over. You know, it doesn't matter if he's better than the first 300 people that were in the Hall of Fame or anything. So I don't understand why we're putting active players in the Hall of Fame to start off. Except for the fact that it's Faker and he's the most marketable player and you're trying to sell skins. Like that's what I assume it is. And you want the money now. When it comes to Uzi, it's like doesn't have the most accomplishments, but he's definitely one of the most influential players of all time. So if that is like one of the things that they're trying to determine, I think that's something that he qualifies as. Like he is super influential. So many AD carries wanted to play like him. For a while, it was known that China just had like the best AD carries, or like in LPL, those were like that was the role of China. You know, like in Korea, there was mid laners, like all the mid laners were super insane, and then in China it was AD carries, right? And in the West we had no one. But you know, it is what it is. Like
we had junglers. We had junglers.
Yeah. I don't know. Junglers were never on the same level as the Korean and Chinese junglers. So yeah, the thing is, it's like he influenced a whole generation of players because he was the person that was like the first real like one dealer, like AD carry that was actually just killing everyone, like put all the eggs in his basket, he'll carry. And some of the like memories that I have of this guy from like season 4 Worlds were just like, it was just like mind blowing. It's like, holy fuck, this guy is so much better than the other AD carries in this tournament. So yeah, I mean, I thought he was I think he's like definitely probably like he's a player that is weird for people to judge because I think people only care about accolades, but they don't actually like care about how good someone is. And I think he is somebody who was exceptionally good. Just didn't end up winning a championship, but he went to back-to-back world finals, which is something pretty impressive in and of itself. So I'm fine with him being the person that's inducted in. I just don't know like what the criteria is, because they made it very blanket. It's like, oh, it's greatness. It's like, okay, so what does greatness mean? Like, how are we defining greatness? Are we defining it by accolades, like influence? Are we defining it by like, popularity? Like, what makes you great? But yeah, I mean, I think the real reason is just like, who's the most famous player of all time? Faker. Who's the second most famous player, especially in China? It's fucking Uzi. All right, nice. That's how we've determined who gets to be in the Hall of Legends.
Jamada.
Next year will be Caps. Just throwing it out there. Probably. Like, I don't think they're gonna go back to Korea for year 3. So calling that now. Yeah, I think a majority of the discourse is kind of silly. I will ignore the obvious monetary gains that Riot will naturally attain by selecting Uzi. And then also I think the comedy of it is not making Vayne the main skin, like the big price tag skin they've made at Kai'Sa, because go and look at play rates and you can just figure that out for yourself.
Yep. It's not even one of his most played champions of all time. Like, he played significantly more. Like Kai'Sa didn't come out until the end of his career, essentially.
I associate like Twitch more with fucking Uzi and Sivir more.
He's the Vayne guy.
But like, yeah, of course, like he is the Vayne guy, right? Like, that is without question. But I'm saying, even ahead of Kai'Sa, I associate those other champions more with his name than I do with Kai'Sa. Ezreal, yeah, like that's the list kind of goes on. So unless he got to pick it, which I don't think Faker got to pick it last year, though I am happy to stand corrected on that, fact. Yeah, that obviously is a bit goofy, but yeah, I think the main thing is that people are just confused about what it actually means to be inducted into this, what the criteria is. I personally, I think it's a bit disingenuous to be like, oh, what's the criteria? I don't know. If you genuinely don't know, that's fine, and that's okay. But the reality of the situation is, if you were around when this guy was playing, this you should just know. You should just know, like, accolades or not. The way that they talk about Uzi in his prime is like they're talking about the devil himself rising to the earth, because it was low-key just kind of true. Like, if this guy had world championship to his name, if this guy had domestic titles, this wouldn't even be a discussion. But he just didn't get the results that he needed for this to actually be a discourse. Hell, arguably, I would go out on a limb and say, if Faker didn't win last year's Worlds, if Uzi did have titles, people would actively have the discussion of, is it Uzi, is it Faker still, to this day? I personally believe. It might be a hot take, but obviously when Faker did what he did in the finals last year, that's it. Like, discussion done. Like, you can't really have that discussion anymore. But it's just, guys, Uzi changed the role fundamentally. Other AD carries professionally tried to imitate how Uzi played. He's a game changer. He was a game changer to the whole role. The whole system changed because of how he played temporarily. That should be enough. And if you weren't around, because like I know the community is aging, right?
Yeah.
So my thought around that would be, well, surely people who are aging would know what Uzi was doing back then. But it feels like a majority of the people that are commenting on how Uzi, like how good Uzi was, must not have been around since 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Like,
yeah, I mean, for me, it's more about like, okay, what about like Mad Life? Change the support role completely. What about Diamond Procs? Change the jungle role completely. Like, these people came before Uzi. Like, their times were before Uzi. So wouldn't you induct them first then?
100%. But it's not like these people can't be inducted in now. Can't be inducted in later on down the line, right? They can still be inducted in eventually. I think one of the big problems is the cadence of how Riot are doing this, because they're doing it one player a year. It's like, if they were doing this every 6 months, then we would actually maybe get to players like you're talking about, like Mad Life, who changed the fucking support game, like Diamond Procs, who changed jungle. Hell, maybe even like there's a fucking long list of players, man. It really doesn't matter. You could tag so many people. People have spoken about all of the LPL mids, in that like fucking category who could be there, right? Scout, Knight, Rookie, other that people are already talking about Chovy being in there. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very disingenuous to be like, Uzi shouldn't be there. Like people like Caps, people like Jankos is maybe a hard sell. People like maybe Bjergsen for his time in NA, right? Like hell, even like Doublelift, arguably, right? Like there are players relevant
I mean,
to their time
if I'm
and
making
relevant
an
to their
all
region.
time if I'm making an all time list, right? I'm putting a
Yeah,
player like Knight over a player like I'm putting Knight, I'm putting Xiaohu, I'm putting Chovy, I'm putting all these players above Uzi all time.
and I
That's what
wouldn't
I'm doing.
blame you. And I wouldn't blame you. But do you know what they did last year? They released a mid lane skin line because it's Faker. So they're not going to do it
Yep.
this year. It's all business. And I get that. And I think that's what again that bleeds back into the conversation of the criteria and what it
Yep.
actually means to be inducted into this Hall of Fame. Where it's like Faker was a given. The Faker was always going in there. You can't have a Hall of Fame in League of Legends without Faker being in there.
Yeah, he just shouldn't
And
be
I
the
think
first one
because
in because he's still active. Like
and,
it just
and
is what it is. Like that's just how
I agree
Hall
with
of
you.
Fames work. What Hall of Fame has people inducted that are
exactly.
active? Name one.
I
Like
I
it doesn't
I
happen.
110% agree with you. As an old like sports head myself, like it just shouldn't. It doesn't make sense. But look, like they had to sell the Ari skin.
Yeah.
They
It
had to
doesn't
do
mean
it.
Faker's
Uh,
not the GOAT if he's like not inducted. Like that's
Yeah,
what like people
I,
like just
I
be
think
like
that's
he's
what they
definitely
were
the GOAT.
worried
He just
about.
shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame first. Like it just he's still an active player. Like he has more to achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think in that regard, yeah, there's like a slight stain on like what it means to be in that Hall of Fame. But I care less because it was such a given that he would have been in there eventually. I just feel like they need to make it perhaps clearer so that this discourse isn't even a thing. Because again, if we were doing it on, truly go like status, would Uzi have come in this year? Probably not. But would Uzi have 100% made the cut at some point? Yeah. And I think the fact that there's no clear criteria, Faker went in first, whilst he's still active. And again, the cadence is one time a year. People are just getting pissy about the fact that Uzi's in now with all of this like mixture of things because he, and I quote, doesn't have the accolades. But if you were there to watch the tape, this guy was a freak. This guy was a freak. There's nothing else to really say about it. He is the Faker of ADC. He just doesn't. He never got the titles to like have behind him in the cool fucking action shots.
So I just had to look it up just because I agree with you guys. It shouldn't be like that. In most sports, Hall of Fame is usually when you're retired. So
Yeah.
the only one I could find was the World Golf Hall of Fame. They do have players that are still playing. So
yeah,
Phil
but that's also
Mickelson.
like a sport that people play until they're fucking like 90, bro. Like it's just like people are ancient playing fucking golf. Like
That's true. That's true. I mean, not the main tours. It's rare that they're main tours. Usually they age out and play the next tour. Like the ones that you would know would be like Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, who is about to stop playing probably because he's all injured and pieced together. I think those are the only two that are still playing the main, like the PGA tour. They're not playing like the old guy PGA tour. And then maybe Patrick Harrington, who's like Patty Harrington was like the other guy that played against Tiger Woods at one time and has done a lot for the game. But other than that, everyone else is retired. And that, to me, you start the Hall of Fame, you break the rule, you have Faker do it. After that, retired guys, and clearly
Totally, yeah.
it seems like it's impact over accolade.
I think
yeah.
it's just going to be a mixture of both. Like at the end of the, like your impact is also going to be part measured by your accolades as well. Like
Shit,
those
I
things
just would
aren't.
love if we got to vote. Like that would be awesome. That would be so
that
cool.
would
Oh,
be.
I would want nothing less than random fucking fans voting after the
I was
things that
about
I've
to say,
seen.
as
it is
long as
disgusting.
it was.
It's not
I
fans.
think what dGon. I was about to say. I think what dGon's saying is like people like us
Yeah.
who have been in the scene around that time, right? Got to actively vote who is in the Hall of Legends, right? And I would assume
Okay.
also maybe players with tenor as well would get some kind of pass. You've been around for 5 years, awesome. You get to vote on the Hall of Legends, right? That kind of shit would be my assumption. Because otherwise, like fan voting. Otherwise, we're getting Guma next year.
Yeah, we're getting Guma and fucking Owner as like we're getting Guma and Owner as the 2 and 3 most influential players in the history of the game.
Yeah.
Nice. Well played, Toss.
Yeah. And then we're just gonna forget about like the whole 13 to 16 run of some of the best players relative to their time of all time. Who I don't think we've rarely seen players hit peaks again relative to the level of skill going on
at that time. Yeah.
At that time.
It was called a Mad Life. The prediction was called
a Mad Life. It was called an insect, right?
Yeah.
Dandy changing how the jungle was fundamentally played in season 4 because no one else played jungle like he did. Shit like that, right? The Samson, like, bro, you could go on. Like, I feel like an old man shouting at clouds.
Yeah, I'm down for Riot to just like, now that they picked, okay, we got Faker, and then we got the LPL market with Uzi. I'm down for them to just figure out, okay, what is the connection between these two to create eligibility requirements that then fits for everyone else. Because for the tour and just in general, it's like, okay, voters, how do you become a voter? Whatever. And, they outline that. And then you need a certain percentage of the votes to make it on in. You also need a certain amount of wins or certain amount of time played. Like, just have something. Have some sort of standard in there that is it. And then move forward. But Uzi will be coming on in, getting the Kaisa skin, making the big cash money. Just like Faker did. $500. I wonder also if this opens up for people to buy the Faker skin.
It's allegedly not $500. This one. Oh, it's supposed to be a bit cheaper from what I've read. I don't know if I've been like one guide somewhere along the line.
All right. Well,
I don't know if it's even been announced. But
all we know is that previously this was $500.
Exactly. Yes. Last year it was $500. The expectation is that it's going to be costly, maybe not exactly $500, but again, still pricey.
Okay, 2 years. Give me 2 players that are next in. If you got to pick them, if you got to pick, who would it be? And then you, Jamada.
I got to pick.
Yep.
I mean, if it's me, then I would go back to like the beginning, and I would put, because I think the game really became the game in season 2. I would put Mad Life and I would put Diamond Prox. Those would be my next 2. A jungler and a support, 2 of the most influential players ever in the game, 2 of the best players we had seen at the time in their role. Yeah, I would go Mad Life, Diamond Prox.
Chat.
Thought about Expeke.
Respect it. Expeke is that was the one I was thinking about. I was like, I don't know. He did a lot too. Go ahead, Jamada.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with Mad Life. Mad Life would have been one of my 2. I've always been very big. I mean, I mentioned him. I've always been very big on Dandy, but I don't think he should really be Hall of Legends, rather. I think realistically, again, he's still active. Caps just seems like a no-brainer. As much as I would like to see someone else, if I was to obviously go back further, maybe, God, I don't know. I was about to say Hooney, but even who like that? There's like Smeb. Like I don't know. I don't know who I would want to land on. Like brief mention of Expeke. Fuck man. Like I'm torn. One I'm 100% sold on is Mad Life. I think Mad Life changed the game for the support role, hands down. No questions asked. He's there. My second pick is just I would just
bring in the old heads, bro. Fuck, bring in all the old heads. Like, what about players like Ambition? Like somebody who role swapped, somebody who became, one of the best players in his role. He's a world champion. Like, he's somebody who belongs in that shit. Like, he just belongs in that shit.
Yeah.
This is what it is. Like, these are players that are legendary. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if they would just make a class, like an old guard class and then a current class. Man, there's just so many things they could do here with it. But also to connect the skin with it would also just be pretty difficult. What unless it was like, oh,
Blitzcrank,
this is the
Mad Life, you know.
no, yeah, but what if it's like this is the class of 2026 skin headed by the most famous one, and then it's like, okay, it's Mad Life,
But
and then
then
here's
they'll run out of players too quick. Like they need to milk it, dGon. Okay, that's why we're at the
I don't
year.
think-
That's why we're at the once a year cadence as is.
I would want to see Chowie. Put Chowie in there. Chowie and Maple. They've had such
Oh,
great
wow.
careers. But like that would not be a very popular pick, but their careers
No.
were very long, very successful in their region. Golly. All right.
Bro, they'll
This
go
talk
like
could go on
Beerton
forever.
before people like that.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
Sorry, other general, the general of Singapore. Let's get to it. That closes out the Galaxy Brain Club here for the Hall of Legends. Let us know what you think about Uzi getting picked, what the criteria should be, regardless of, now it was Faker and Uzi, and who would you put in there for the next 2 years? I think it's always just a super fun conversation to talk about that. Like Chad has been just saying a lot of like iconic players, but like Marin, no. Flame,
Hell no.
Horizon, Flame, no.
Flame would be one.
No.
I think Flame would be one.
He's too far down. I think he's like 10.
I think he'd be I think
Or
he'd
like
be down on
11.
the list too. But he'd be on the list. He'd be there. Yeah, 100%.
Like Rookie? Rookie would be.
Yeah,
Rookie
he's
would be
a good one.
That's a good one.
Rookie
That's a
would be
good one. I just love this talk, and we'll see what people's answers are, and I'll make sure to make a segment for it tomorrow. All right, last segment before we close it on off. It is a look forward to the certified banger of next week. We've waited all season for it. I guess not all season, but this whole round for it. Our certified banger of the week: GenG versus Hanwha Life Esports. All right. Y'all, this is the first time we're doing a future certified banger of GenG versus Hanwha Life Esports. GenG played T1 this past weekend. It could have been a certified banger, kind of like, I don't know, like it was just more like, how did you enjoy that one, Dom? Then we can get into this one.
Well, you said the T1 GenG?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought it was fine. Like, I thought it was more competitive than I thought it was going to be going in. Game 2 was kind of like a slow burn where it felt like GenG was going to win the whole time, but like they were getting tested a bit. Game 1, I thought GenG they played their first like 12 minutes almost perfectly. Like the first 12 minutes was just like a masterpiece, and then they just started like running it the fuck down. Then they started opting into every fight, like T1 brought them down into like onto their level and just started beating them. They were like, all right, you know what? We're gonna fucking beat the team that's starting every single fight. And GenG opted into those fights where that's kind of why I still rate like the previous GenG higher than them, is because of things like that. I felt like the old GenG was more disciplined and they were more willing to
disciplined,
like not fight these types of fights. And we've seen so many moments of GenG being undisciplined this split. Like for example, you remember what we saw with Ruler getting caught so much the first time GenG and T1 played each other. Like Ruler's just getting caught like on midwave. He got caught like 3 times in the same game, where it's like, bro, like please, like you like just let your team have a chance of winning. Like I was just begging for that during the game. So I feel like they're less disciplined and they will like get into the mix, which they're still winning those games, but that is a sign of just like them being beatable, I guess, where I didn't feel like that about some of the other teams. So not super sure on that front. But I will say that it was a good series overall. It was fun to watch. It's part of that right there is part of the reason why I'm not sold on GenG the way that I was sold on 2024 GenG. It's just like they look like they have the ability to throw and start inting. And it was still good overall. I mean, they did a lot of really good stuff in the game. I just feel like they're not as crisp. And honestly, I felt like that was T1's game. Like, I'm so surprised that T1 found a way to lose that game at Elder. I thought that, T1 had that one in the bag. Because that's the way that when you think these teams are going to play against each other, this is what you expect the games to look like, that T1 wins. T1 wins the games where they like are losing like 2K gold early, then they make a bunch of clutch plays, like they get a bunch of shit done, and suddenly they just win the whole game. Like that is how you expect those games to go. And yeah, the fact that they didn't pull it out was like, I was like a little bit shocked by that. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's fine. It's GenG is on form. T1 is still ramping. They had all the roster drama at the beginning of split. Now they've settled in on a roster. So I'm not like, I don't think that it's impossible for T1 to win, but I do think that they should have won at least that game, number one.
Yeah. Jamada, what did you make of the T1 GenG series before we look forward to preview this GenG Hanwha series?
I kind of surmised it a little bit earlier, but I don't think GenG had much business winning that game after what they did. I think, was it Atacon, which is why they got ran down to the top tier 2 like twice, I want to say. It was like 2 throws back to back up there, which were just goofy. And then obviously T1's overreach similarly on the top tier 2 tower as well. Like, I don't know. I was very impressed with, like Dom said, the first 12, 15-ish minutes of that game. It just felt like, yeah, okay, cool. GenG are going to do the GenG thing and just roll over T1. Like, this is just, that is how it's going to go. But again, discipline lacking. And then even arguably in game 2, and maybe I just have a very high and strict standard because it's GenG, but I don't feel like they punished T1 enough in the game 2 with the side lane action. And like the Pantheon Galio, like, bro, Rumble and Ori should never be able to side lane into like a Pantheon Ornn combo or a Pantheon Galio combo. And it felt like they didn't really snowball the game that hard off that fact. And I would expect GenG to snowball the game to an untenable position a lot sooner than they did, is what I'll say. It really didn't feel like they had their, their foot on the gas, their just like straight up foot on the back of T1, like I would have expected in a draft and game state like that. And eventually they got around to it, right? But again, it's not about the fact that they did it. It's about the fact that they didn't really.
I mean, they had to like steal Baron in this game. Like, this wasn't a game
like,
where
it
was
much,
like, oh shit, they're just
like
systematically dismantling T1, which is kind of what you expect, what GenG for. You want the systematic, like,
exactly.
Oh, now they're doing this, and now it's just completely unplayable for the enemy team. Yeah,
It's
they can't even like do anything, and then they just win.
That kind of game, I even think Canyon got quite far ahead as well on Owner. It just felt like that should have been a suffocating game where T1 have no way in. So that was not the most, it didn't sell me very hard on GenG. That said, I mean, I guess we're gonna talk about HLE in a second, right? Do we want to move forward to the certified banger banger part?
Yeah, let's do it. GenG, Hanwha, this is a battle for the top, but more to stop GenG's history-making season here. Up and down, star power, all the way across. You've got the top laners who know each other very well. It's a very wide champion pool for both of them. I think it's wider for Keen currently than it is for Zeus. Yes, it is. But Zeus has been playing these. He's like number one at gold at 15, gold difference at 15, but he's also in like the bottom half of the league in terms of deaths per game. So like it's just the top lane, that was just the top lane. You maybe at the jungle, that's where you get a little bit more advantage there for GenG, but Canyon's had some slumpy games, whereas Peanut has also had some slumpy games, and that's why they've lost and been one of the big catalysts for all the happy gaming memes that have been coming out of Hanwha Life Esports. But them as a team have always played to the level of the team that they're playing. So when they play DNF, they would get sloppy and play with DNF. But when they play the better teams, they usually play better than the better team, or as good as the better team. So how do you guys see this one? And what are you looking for, Dom? Let's start with you. Where is your focus going to be in this game?
I'm going to see if Hanwha Life like is making the same mistakes and like throwing games the same way that they were throughout the regular season versus other teams like recently, or are they going to play like disciplined mid games? Like, I want to know, does Hanwha Life know how to play a clean mid game anymore? Because Hanwha Life, man, there's so many games where they'll be just like up 5k gold, and then you'll look back at it and it's like, hold on, these motherfuckers just threw the entire game. They're just on the verge of losing, and then they'll just go back and start winning like once they throw the game and they're in a neutral game state versus a team comp that like might even outscale them, right? So I just want to see, like, are they still legit? Are they still like able to play out these games in the mid game when they have advantages, or are they going to be a team that's going to just like fucking struggle? Like, are they just struggling now against top tier competition where they can get leads but they don't win the games where they get leads well. I'm also looking at Zika because I feel like Zika's form has actually not been that good recently. Like he's had some pretty bad lane phases that were unexpected. I forget who he was playing into. Maybe it was BDD. Was it BDD? No, I don't know. I don't think it was BDD. It might have been Closer or somebody. But he played this Yone lane phase where he got like solo killed like super fucking early in the game. He got solo killed at like level 4 or something. And I was like, bro, is this the guy that I consider like the best Yone in the world? Because he is getting fucking fisted by like Closer. I mean, I think Closer's actually pretty good this split, but the point is that like I think that he should be held to higher standards. So yeah. Yeah, so I want to see like how good they really are here. Like I'm not sure how to fully rate them.
Jamada.
Yeah, very similarly to the T1 series, watching them play around with DNF, Hanwha obviously, watching them lose to KT in the manner that they lost to KT, it's weird. It feels like the only person on this team right now that's being normal is Viper. And like maybe the Light. Maybe
no, it's just Viper.
Yeah, like it's just Viper. It's just Viper. I think a big part for me, and this is less of a critique on like the philosophy of how they draft per se, like in terms of habits. Well, no, less on the philosophy part, but more on a habit that they seem to have. Is every now and again, it just feels like they want to have fun in draft. And they don't really respect their opponent. And so then you end up in like game states or like overall drafts where it's like there is one singular thing that needs to not happen. And if it happens, the entire game is fucked and you're playing it on hard mode. And then that fuck thing happens. And then they're playing the game on hard mode. Right?
Yep.
Like I'll give you a really good example. Where actually, arguably, their draft wasn't that bad. It was the game 2 of KT, where I would actually say, to be honest with you, I think KT drafted a little bit like shit. But there was one condition that would allow KT to like exist in that game, and it's Cuz having jungle tempo and a lead over the Skarner, and like actually being able to out skirmish the Skarner in the early game, and they just gave him play after play after play.
Yeah, they opted into so many fights.
And they just opted into so much bullshit that didn't need to happen. And honestly, this is very derived from what Dom's saying, where I just need to see them have a clean like mid game. I need to see them not run it the fuck down. I need to see a game plan out of the gate, which is just simple. Like when I see teams play like this, especially when they're supposed to be good, my simple mindedness just goes, keep it simple, stupid. Just like, bro, just draft front to back. Just draft like 2 tanks and 2 carries if you have to. I don't give a fuck. Just don't overcomplicate things. But then you'll look at games like, let's say, DNF game 2. What did they draft in DNF game 2? You remember? I remember. Fucking Vladimir Soraka. Yeah. Like, because we like, I get it, it's DNF. Like, cool, you're gonna win probably, but you're still playing the game on hard mode just because you don't, So I hope, obviously, and my expectation is that they won't draft and they won't play like this versus GenG, because the habitual play pattern of them is that they play to the level of their opponent. But it's getting to a point where you're starting to wonder if it's not gonna be a a positive habit anymore, and they're just gonna do the stupid shit against the opponents that they really can't afford to do the stupid shit against. If, again, unfortunately, the format isn't exactly one that matters for, playoffs. But in a situation where this was for a title, you would be worried. Like, you would be really concerned, right? If the state of the league wasn't the way it was, where realistically it's GenG, Hanwha, and then this massive, seemingly closing gap, but still gap between them and T1, you would be thinking, well, shit, if T1 keeps on getting better and Hanwha keep on playing like this, do we miss out on, like, good seeding at Worlds? Hell, like, if this was happening at the start of the split and this trend had started earlier, the conversation, as much as out here, would start to be, well, does T1 make it to MSI? Like, are they going to do it? And that's a fucking world that could potentially happen still, like, in a few realities, which unfortunately I think we have to be prepared for if Hanwha don't get their shit together. So I think
I mean, they might get checked, bro. It might be the same thing that like happened to us versus FlyQuest, where it's like you just start playing so loose that it's like, wait, we're just playing fucking bad now. Like we're just actually like,
yes,
this isn't even being loose anymore. This is just us like inting. This is just inting. Like there's no like, oh, we're playing loose. Like, and then you just get smacked. It's like, okay, if you start a Drake that you have no business starting, and then they just like ace you, it's like, oh, now we can't even play the game anymore. And we see them play so like ridiculous. Like they'll have some mid games that are criminal. Do you remember BFX? I think it was game 2, the one where Pino was playing Poppy and they had Zika and Silas. Silas like opened the game solo killing Vikla. He just like solo killed Vikla at like level like 3 or something.
Yep.
Clapped,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Then he goes into topside river and he takes like a 1v2 and he like dies. But it like he's like he has so much pressure. He's like 1v2ing, and then you just watch them throw inside. He's like 3 levels up or some shit. You just see them just die in side lanes for like 5 minutes. They give like 2 turrets bot, die, run top, take a fight, die on the other side, die on the other side, die. And then it's like, what the fuck is that? Are they going to lose this game? And they just like win one sequence, get Baron, and they end up winning. But there's so many sequences like that where I'm watching Hanwha Life and I don't know if they are so loose that they have forgotten how to like play the normal game, or if they are just not giving a fuck because they think they're just the best team in the world, and they're just like they're one of those teams that's actually extracting value from being so loose on stage, being just like, we're just gonna make this like a fucking scrim. We're just gonna play how we want to play, everything develop, and then we'll just tighten up a bit in playoffs, and we'll just be the most aggressive team in playoffs. We'll really be able to create big advantages, and then we'll just tone it back a little bit, do the common steps that they know how to do in the mid game, and play from there.
And that's what has been so enjoyable about watching this LCK season, with having GenG be the flag bearer of perfection, and then Hanwha be the let's stay loose, let's limit test. If we fuck it up, that's fine. We're good enough to make it up against all the other teams until they got checked by KT. So very exciting kind of future matchup here, and I think it's also kind of interesting that both of you guys have your eyes on Hanwha a lot more than GenG. GenG, they currently hold the record at 20 wins in a row in terms of game score. They still have their perfect season on the line as well. They're chasing the record set by Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves set it back in 2017 with a 28 game streak. Yeah, no, they lost the very first game of the best of 3 against AHQ. I think it was AHQ, and then won the rest of the season until the finals game number 1 against AHQ. So they basically won the whole season. That's hard, man.
Bro, that's like Messi going to the MLS and like setting.
And look, Messi loses. Messi loses. They lose over at Inter Miami. I
don't know, but like, yeah.
I mean, Flash Wolves was like a pretty legit team back then. They were like maybe like
they
were the
LCK killer.
They were like a 9th to 10th best team in the entire world, and they were just playing in LMS. Like they were fucking smurfing in monster Pislow.
Yeah. But the fact that they were able to do that,
this is GenG versus Hanwha Life. In a couple words, I think GenG is going to come in at a 9 out of 10. Is Hanwha Life going to come in how they've been playing at like a 6 out of 10, or are they actually going to be what they were at first stand and what they were in LCK Winter? Are they going to come in at a 10 out of 10? That's what I'm looking for.
Boom. There it is. That is your certified banger of the week. Make sure to check it out. If you haven't already, go watch the T1 match as well. Or you can check out game 4 of the Ruddy Sack versus Nord.
Yep.
All right, y'all. That does it. That was a full episode there. Hall of Legends, KC versus the field, are into the AM Glowup picks, and a lot of format talk, sack tap, Navi, streamer teams. We did a lot in this one. Hope that you liked it. If you do, please like and subscribe our channel in this video. Helps us a lot. Follow Dom for his journey with the LPL and maybe LCK tomorrow. Which one are you watching tomorrow?
I'm gonna watch both.
Probably LCK.
That's what
LCK.
I start with LCK because LCK is 1 hour earlier, so I start with LCK, and then normally because of the 1v1, what happens is like LCK will get into game 2 at like 3:50, 3:55. I can watch the whole LCK game and then watch LPL, which will be like 10 minutes or like 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the LPL game. And then I'll watch LPL and then I'll go back to LCK after the LPL game. So it actually
Yeah.
matches up really well with like the breaks and stuff because the LPL takes so long to actually get into game nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy that GenG Hanwha is game 1 instead of game 2. I would almost
Yeah, I
always
was
pick that
quite
as game
surprised.
2, but is what it is. Stick around for DNF versus DRX afterwards. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to our sponsors. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week for more Power Spike action. See ya.